Welcome to Good Dog Pro, the weekly video podcast that's all about having a good dog without using fear or pain. Hosted by Drayton Michaels, CTC, Pitbull Guru and founder of Urban Dogs and ModernDogTraining.com, and Kim Merritt, co-founder of GoodDogInABox.com and GoodDogPro.com, and founder of the URL Doctor. This episode is brought to you by GoodDogInABox.com, reward-based dog training and dog bite prevention products for families with kids and dogs. GoodDogPro.com, the online content subscription and community for dog professionals with reward-based dog training products, curriculums, and online courses to educate, motivate, and positively impact those that work with dogs. And ModernDogTraining.com, remote consulting for you and your dog with Drayton Michaels. Now, let's join Good Dog Pro. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Good Dog Pro, the video podcast where we talk about all things dog with training with no fear and no pain. I'm Kim Merritt, the co-founder of Good Dog in a Box and Good Dog Pro, and I'm here with Drayton Michaels, our super professional dog trainer. Hey, Drayton, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bit... I'd say 96% past this cold that hit me, but bear with me if I have to clear my throat.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're feeling better this week, and hopefully by next week you'll be 100% again.
That's the goal.
So our topic today is dog etiquette in public and at home. And we all want a dog that behaves well. We all want our dog to be great when we're at home, great when we're out in public, but they're dogs and they don't always behave exactly like we want them to. So let's start with dog etiquette at home. So what's the best place for us to start? You know, our dog is great when we're there with them by ourselves, but somebody comes over or the kids come running through and just all heck breaks loose. So what are the first suggestions for helping our dog behave at home?
Yeah, you know, the thing that I often remind people of is that behavior is in the environment. It's not in your dog. Your dog is going to respond to the environment. So when you have something like you say, people coming over, guests, even something as simple as, you know, one of the adults are coming in with groceries. A very simple way to start that process and teach your dog when people come in, here's what we do, is you just have them go behind a gate, give them a work to eat toy, and then let the people in and proceed, right? And then if everything's fine, it chills out, you know, in a few minutes or whatever, you can let the dog out to congregate. But what if you have a dog who might be really, really jumpy and really, really barky and want a lot of attention, right? And we're not worried about the dog biting anybody or there's no fear or aggression concerns, but it's just a dog who might be in need of a lot of attention. That dog. Well, instead of projecting that dog to your friend who comes over and you just want to catch up, you have your dog go behind the gate. It works like this. You get a call or you call your guest. You say, hey, do me a favor. You can text and say, just don't ring or knock don't buzz. No alert. You get your heads up. Dog goes behind the gate, work to eat toy. And that can be commensurate with whatever it is. If somebody's coming over to drop something off and they're going to hand it to you and leave, you may not even give your dog a work to eat toy, but they're behind the gate. You're not holding them. They're not bouncing around. They're contained for whatever time they need to be. And if it's something that's a little bit more involved, like you're going to do some work or there's paperwork, or maybe your children have friends over and they just want to play video games, they don't need to see the dog right there. They don't need to deal with the dog. So that plan can work for any dog, any size, and it saves a lot of stress. And again, it's not that your dog's not going to congregate, but you play it by ear. Who's coming? What are they there for? And does your dog really need to be involved with them?
And just for any of our listeners who would not know what a work to eat toy is, we're talking about a toy like a Kong. There's lots of different versions of them out there. They're hollow in the middle, usually of a hard rubber substance. Mm-hmm. And you fill them with treats, your dog's food or some of their treats. You stuff it, sometimes a little bit of peanut butter, and they have to work to get the treats out of it.
Yeah, or a bully stick, and again, like strategic feeding. A lot of people will contact me after the holidays, which is about to occur. This is a great topic, to roll in. I know you're doing a show about holidays and dogs. If you have a lot of people coming over, you have to remember the best way to deal with your dog is to strategically feed them. So Christmas, Thanksgiving, we're usually talking about, a long day where you have to get ready, you have to cook, you're cleaning the house, like there's all this stuff going on. Instead of giving your dog a bowl of food at, 6, 7 in the morning and they eat it in 30 seconds, that's where you give them their first frozen Kong, or, a work to eat toy that has treats that can be dispensed and they can work out. And again, if you have children, this is a great job for the kids. Any kid who can get into the fridge and give the dog their work to eat toy can help mom or dad. And that's really crucial because, when you're talking about, a large event and the family being involved, sometimes the kids and the dog are the most stressful part because they don't have a job. They're kind of all over the place and everybody's trying to get ready. So instead of spending your time, yelling at kids and dogs and cutting out, plan ahead, strategically feed. So you just work out your dog's amount, you put it in different toys, and then you can feed them throughout the day. And it's not a difficult task. And I'll tell you, it's a heck of a lot easier than dealing with the dog at your feet. And, it's cold outside and, people are coming and you can't really get the dog out too long. Well, strategically feed. Dogs like to work for food anyway. So it plays right into their natural desire.
Now, as far as management of your dog in the house, do you, and maybe you don't have a preference, but do you prefer putting the dog in a crate or in an X pen or behind a baby gate or in another room, or are all these different things
they're all
usable?
Yeah, they're all usable, and the variable would be the dog and maybe even the environment. Do you have a number of dogs? Is it easy? So in other words, whenever I look at containment, I always look at the dog's history with containment and being away from people, right? So that's the first concern. And some dogs don't do well in a crate, but they're not going to destroy anything in the house. They're not going to try to escape. They don't have any separation anxiety. They're just not big fans of the crate. So my preference, if I can, I just have the dog in a room with a standard gate that's easy to open. People can come and go, so it's not cumbersome. But if you have to, if it makes more sense, if your house is structured, for example, that it's going to be better for the dog to be upstairs with the music on or TV or whatever, maybe the kids can go up there and hang out with the dog while the adults do whatever they're going to do. Great. I always tell people, especially when you get a puppy, teach your puppy it's okay to be away from us. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they get the puppy and every time they cry, they run over there. And if the dog's needs are met, let them bark and moan a little bit and they make sure they got a work to eat toy and, something to do and they're up to date. But it's really useful, 4 or 5 years in when you do have a holiday party or an event and your dog is perfectly fine in another room. They're totally fine. They might bark a couple times when people come in. It's okay, good boy. And you just go about your day. And you don't have a dog who's stressed because they're not part of the event. And again, like you can have your dog with you, but if it's going to take work, if the dog needs to be communicated with so they're not doing behaviors you don't want, that's where you got to use your cues. And, so many times I'll work with somebody in a puppy class, or I'll even do 2 or 3 sessions. And then on the 4th or 5th session, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you having so much? Just work your dog. He knows down, stay, sit. Or I'll get a dog who comes to me 3, 4 years into their life, dog's got a good repertoire. People just aren't using it. They're not using the downstay. So when you're sitting there with your dog and you're chilling, you put him in a downstay and you pay him, every few seconds for that stay while you sit there and you talk to your friend who you just ran into. People don't do that though. They just, he's jumping. Well, no, the dog's jumping or the dog's jumping on people in your home because you set it up that way. If the dog doesn't have access, they can't jump. Same thing when you have your dog gated for the initial entrance, they're settled. Great. We're going to let them congregate, put them in a downstay, work them a little bit. If you have a dog who has a repertoire of sit and down, stay, wait, people are sitting on a chair or couch, dog goes up, checking them out, right? Typical thing. Leave it, touch, dog comes over, touches your palm, give them a little treat, redirect them onto a work to eat toy. They got to say hi to the guests, but they didn't jump. You got it ahead of time. One of the big mistakes people make is it's like, don't let your dog make decisions they're going to make wrong. If your dog is a super happy dog who's going to jump on people, great, stay engaged. But this is the crux. We live in a world where the dog is at fault and they're not. We live in a world where the dog's breed is blamed or all these other factors have nothing to do with it. We're the variable. And I know this is a fact, and it can't be disputed. You're really delusional if you go through life thinking you're not the variable that matters most. And I see it every time, because I'll be in the room, same exact context, and they're like, dog isn't doing it. Yeah, because I'm quicker than you are. I'm faster than you are. I'm paying more attention. Instead of going, ah, 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 I'm going, leave it, right? Instead of saying nothing to the guests, I say, hey, would you mind just doing me a favor and just stand still for a second? Just let them smell you real quick. Great, thanks. Leave it. And it literally takes that long. That conversation we had. So that's the variable. And if you do have a plan, it translates to etiquette. It translates to better manners. It translates to all the things people want, because you have a plan. You're not just willy-nilly,
Well, and I think what people have to remember, this is as much about training the people in your house, whether that's family members or guests or relatives. It's as much about training them on what to do and what not to do as it is the dog.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. And again, this is where, when we talk to the professionals about this, you have to sell it to clients. You have to remind people, you are the reason things are going one way or the other, not your guests. No, you ask your guests to do certain things. And when they say why, you say, because this is going to get me the best result. But your dog's not here, right? And see, people have this mindset that dogs are like toaster ovens. They did something once on a Tuesday with the dog and it worked. So now they're going to ascribe that to every dog they ever meet or hear about. That's ridiculous, right? So you have to be, as a dog guardian, you have to be forward and just tell people, hold on a second, wait. Like you have to, right? And or tell them ahead of time, look, here's how we're going to set it up. And you know what? I get emails, I get reports from people. Oh my God, people were amazed. They didn't even know I had a dog. Well, what happened? Well, we gave him his first frozen Kong at 7 p.m. and we didn't hear from him until 8. Yeah, and everybody got to talk and laugh and da 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 da. Yeah, and then you went and leashed him up and you went for a walk with your guests, and it was this magical thing because you had a plan. You had some forethought. You thought it through. And again, one of the things that I've been telling people who might be resistant is just remember something. Of the two of us, I'm the only one who has the confidence to charge you money. Like, that has to be something that people have to realize. Like, when I go to a specialist or when I go somewhere, I'm confident that they are confident that they can charge me money for their service, right? And I've done my due diligence and I've realized this is somebody I want to work with or buy something from. We live in a world with dogs where, like, everybody's a critic, everybody's an expert, and not that many people are really making money at it. There's a very small segment of the population that are professional dog trainers. There's even a smaller segment in that culture that even know what they're doing. There's people taking money, and because I see it, they're not teaching people to call and text your guests and have your dog go behind a gate with a food toy at 7 o'clock. Don't feed him at 5. I know he eats at 5. He'll be okay. 2 hours later, he'll be so hungry. When you put down that first work to eat toy, he won't care who's here. And if he does, you can say, it's okay, buddy, good boy. It's Uncle Joe. Yeah, we're going to sit here and do stuff that doesn't have to do anything with you. Get your food. And you know what 99.9999% of those dogs do? Okay. And the 1% probably have some stress or some kind of issue that's superseding every event because that's the dog they are. So, the lack of understanding and the lack of compliance sometimes just with people in general with dogs is pretty astounding,
So as dog owners, again, with the holidays coming up, with people coming over, what can we tell our guests, particularly those that don't have dogs, and again, every dog's different. So they might have a dog that, none of this kind of stuff bothers. They might come to our house and our dog just, flips out when the doorbell rings. So we tell them, don't ring the doorbell.
Right.
But what can we also tell our guests about how to meet a dog? Because I find that this is particularly a problem with women who have, we tend to be, boisterous and emotional and loud. I am horribly loud that my entire family reminds me of every time they get together with me. I'll own it, fine. But that really can set a dog off. So what can we tell our guests about what's a proper way to meet our dog, or any dog for that matter?
Well, the first thing that people have to realize is that it's much better to meet a dog by being boring. Because even if the dog is super happy, well socialized, but they're jumpy, the best thing you can do is to be kind of boring, right? Now, again, as you said, all dogs are individuals. For anybody listening or watching, if you have a dog who is this dog, they walk up to people, they smell their feet, and they walk away and lay down, you can stop listening now because none of this is going to pertain to you. If you have any other dog that walks up to people, they're jumpy, they're barky, they get excited, even if you've done all the things that we've just talked about, like the doorbell didn't ring, right, but they're behind the gate, the best thing you can do for a dog when they're super excited is ignore them. Not be mean or be upset. Just, it's okay, good boy. And if you have the ability to have your dog behind the gate, great. We're going to talk about greetings on leash and public etiquette, but same thing. Like if you're meeting up with a friend and you have a super happy dog who's just happy to see everybody, you should tell your friend, hold on a sec, just wait, just stand still. Literally this much leash. Remember, less leash, less dog. Walk right up, 1001, 1002, leave it, boop, boop, boop. Boom, create a little space, 5-6 feet. Let's go for a walk. Let's get walking. Come on, buddy, smell your smells. Get your dog focused on doing what the dog's supposed to do, which is gathering scent, and you and your friend can walk. But what people do is the dog's at 6 feet of leash, they jump on the person, they pull them down, or the other person pushes them down. It's a bad dog, da, da, da. Really? Like all that, because behavior that's rehearsed becomes stronger. So the first time your dog bolts up to somebody and jumps on them, you should know that that's something that your dog likes doing. Right. Mm-hmm. And that may be fine if you're asking your dog to jump onto something like an agility ramp, but guests don't need to be jumped on. Right. And we control it. And that's what people have to take away from this particular podcast. We are the variable. If you want your dog to be well behaved and all the cues well rehearsed, you have to do it every day, because behavior is in the environment, not in the dog. You could be walking down the street and maybe say you run into your neighbor and your neighbor's like, oh, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Hey, buddy. And your dog's really mellow. The next neighbor, oh my God, I love you. Oh my God. And now your dog's all happy, right? So What I do in those situations is I just say, hold on a second. And depending on the dog I'm with, because I don't have a dog of my own at the moment, so any dog that I'm out in public with is a client's dog. So depending on the dog, usually I don't meet that person. I say, thanks, we're good. And I move along. Because unless I have a puppy who absolutely needs to meet people, me personally, I don't meet people out on leash with dogs unless I know the person, like it's a neighbor and the dog I'm with is just, but if it's a dog who's just like, oh my God, I love everybody. If I'm walking that dog, then I'll be like, it's okay. And what I'll do is to teach that dog greetings is I'll recruit somebody, right? I'll recruit people, or I'll say, hey, can you help me out a sec? If it's somebody I know who knows me in the neighborhood or whatever, because I know a ton of people here. So I might recruit somebody, but I let them know what to do. Wait, just hold on, just stand still. I rush the dog up, smell, smell, smell. Yes, treat, leave it. Boop, boop, boop. Boom, create a little space, sit, wait, treat, stay. Hey, how you been? Oh yeah, pretty good. Nah, we're just working with this dog. Stay, right? And I work the dog the whole time. But that's me. That's why I can charge people money, because when I do it, I show them this is how you do it. If they don't do it, it's not the dog's fault. If they don't do it, they're just not. It's like dieting or going to the gym. You can't blame your gym for not showing up.
So we're talking about we kind of migrated now in our conversation from being inside to transition. So now we're outside with our dog.
Too, I might add.
Yes, very well. Let me ask you this, because I experienced this yesterday. I had met somebody for coffee. It was at a cafe that had a little outdoor seating area. She had an adorable Shiba Inu, very cute little dog.
Oh, I love
and just a beautiful face and a very sweet little personality. But we had several people that came up, interrupted our conversation, and asked to pet this dog. Talk about that for me.
Yeah, well, that's, look, now we're going to talk about personal choices, right? Not that we haven't been. The day I stopped letting people pet my dogs was the day that somebody pet my dog and their cologne was on their hand and my dog's face smelled like this cologne for 2 days, no matter what I did. And I was like, I will never let a stranger pet my dog again. It won't happen. So there's that. Number two, why do people feel the need to pet unknown dogs? And I'll give you an example. A couple years back, I was letting some puppy parents out of class, and one of the women had a very, very fearful German Shepherd. And the dog was still, sound. It was a puppy, but it was really scared. And so as I was walking her to her car, and I knew I was going to do this on purpose, and if nothing happened, great, but I knew that sure enough, as she's standing there, getting her keys to go to her car, these two elderly people walk right up to her. And I said, please don't lean, don't reach. And the guy sticks his hand out. I go, don't reach. He goes, I'm not. I go, but your hand is extended. That's a reach. Just, could you please back up? And he looked at me and I said, well, this dog's really scared and I don't want anybody getting in this dog's space. And he goes, dogs love me. I go, not this dog, right? Like, this isn't your dog. This has nothing to do with you. You should respect what I'm asking you to do because I'm asking you not to do it. Now, if that guy gets bit, whose fault is it? It's his, not mine, because I would grab his wrist and move his arm away before he reached again, right? This is the problem. People don't want to appear to be jerks, but I'm going to tell you this. Dogs don't want a bunch of hands in their face all day. Point blank. I work with 400 dogs a year, 50 a week. Trust me, far too many dogs are getting picked up and touched and petted when they don't want to. So what I usually tell people is, no, that's okay. And if I say, you know what, man, the Monmouth County SPCA needs volunteers. I do not skip a beat. You want to touch dogs? You're that devoted? Go rescue a dog. Go work with a dog at the shelter. You don't need to pet the dog I'm with. You don't. Sorry. And I don't care what you think, to be honest, because I'm out here working, first of all. Just me. I don't have this civilian life with dogs. I'm on the streets with dogs. I'm working. And unless the dog absolutely needs to meet people because it's starved and has not met anyone, starved meaning it doesn't meet people and it's a puppy, sure. But the average person, here's what I would say. You can do it, but what you want to know is your dog A-okay with it? If your dog is like moving away or they're like, why does this person need to touch the dog and why do you need to let them touch the dog? 99% of the time you don't. So now we're going to get into, well, why would you bring your dog? Well, I'm assuming because you didn't say that this dog was a problem at the table, then this would be a good candidate for a dog to be out and hanging out at a restaurant, right? Dog was fine, yeah. Wasn't barky or reactive.
Yeah. No, very quiet, behaved quite beautifully.
Great, perfect. And that's the kind of dog that you bring to go to a cafe, etc. Like a dog who isn't reactive, will just lay there or sit there, and with very little effort or minimum communication, you can get the dog to focus, right? But yeah, I don't really understand the need for everybody to go up and pet someone else's dog. I mean, it's really selfish, to be honest. It's like, really, if you really miss dogs that much or you want to engage with them, go volunteer at the shelter. They need help. You know what I mean? So that's my attitude on it. Like,
and we've got a great video on gooddogginabox.com that's on our homepage, and it's throughout the site on how to meet a dog. We've created it especially for children, sure. But it's really for anybody, and teaches, always ask permission. Don't reach over a dog's head. Maybe pet on their chest or on their back. And,
well, I would even go a step further. And what I would say is stand still and let the dog smell you for 2 to 4 seconds. Don't do anything, right? Because, look, I just worked with a dog that I had to recommend be euthanized. Okay? And here's what happened. The dog, I knew the dog had fear issues because I did a 16-page intake. I had my data. I knew what I was dealing with, but there was no bites on the record. This dog got out of the car. As the dog approached me, no eye contact, standing still. Hi, good girl. Tossed the dog a handful of food, turkey pepperoni. Like, it was a great little, right? Dog's eating a couple treats. I was not looking at the dog. I was talking like this. I wasn't talking in any boisterous way. I was looking at the person holding the dog, and the dog lunged to attack me. Is it an extreme example? Sure. But there's a lot of dogs out there who've been grabbed by the face, looked at in the eye, and scolded by the people that have them. And that same picture of leaning down, like, that's the worst possible advice ever, is to lean down to the dog's level. What do you want to get bit in the face?
Right.
Dogs bite because they have teeth. Okay. And people who have dogs that aren't professionals don't know how to assess their dog's behavior. And their dog might be really great with them or not. I don't know. But that doesn't mean that person you're meeting, that the dog has no history with, the dog's going to be okay with that reach, right? So it's not your dog, and you should respect the dog, and you should respect the person if they ask you to hold on a sec. Again, Most people are really willy-nilly with dogs. 6 feet of leash, just poo, 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 right? And again, we're not talking about dogs who are really mellow and require very little. Excitable, happy dogs can be an issue if it's not addressed properly. And excitable, happy dogs can cause all kinds of issues, right? Maybe nobody gets bitten, but it doesn't mean the dog's not jumping on people or slobbering all over them or whatever it is the dog's doing. And again, we're living in a world where people don't want to take responsibility. They want to put it on the dog or whatever. So I meet dogs really relaxed. Hey, buddy, good boy, right? And it's interesting, whenever I do a session with somebody and I go to their home and I ask them to put the dog behind the gate when I walk in, they go, why? And I said, because I don't want your dog jumping all over me. That's why. I don't want the behavior rehearsed. I'm going to show you from the nanosecond I show up how to create a situation where the dog does better, right?
Right.
When I'm out on leash with a client and I run into somebody I know and I say, hey, can I say hi to you for a sec? Wait. So the first thing I do is address the dog. Wait. Okay. Walk him up, literally, like 6 inches of leash, 1001, 1002, back away. That's how I do it. And if I'm with if I'm out and somebody has a dog that I know and they come over to say hi, if I know the dog, again, I'm in a different category. If I know that dog and we're buddies, I'll give them a hand signal to sit as soon as they walk up. And that's the other thing. Like, you can teach your friends and your family basic training cues. So when the dog approaches, they're doing a sit. You teach them an auto sit. That's like the hugest form of etiquette you can teach a dog, is that when they walk up to people, they sit. And if they don't, you don't get to greet. So that's the other thing, like, not to cut you off, but what we're talking about is like basic 101. It isn't that dogs can't do it. It isn't that, dog trainers worth their salt can't teach it. People don't do it.
Right. And, there's nothing wrong as a dog owner when you're out with your dog somebody comes up and they want to pet your dog. Give them the instruction of show them the hand signal and have them ask your dog.
Yeah, yes and no. See, actually, I wouldn't do that because I'm not going to trust the general public to engage with my dog. If I'm going to actually do a greeting with somebody who wants to see my dog, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do it all.
Okay.
And you should, because their hand signal might be clunky. They might go, huh, what? I've had paying clients who have studied with me for 4 weeks at puppy class. And on week 5, they still aren't doing anything. 5 weeks in, okay? And if you watch anything that I teach, you think, I have told somebody the exact steps. I did this in class the other day. I showed her. It was the perfect example. I walked away. She just didn't do it. Get their nose, make a smoochie, and lure them and put them in position. That's all. Dog name, cut it out. Dog name, hey. I walk over, lure them, put them in position. That's all you got to do. Walk away, they don't do it. So somebody tell me, right? Is it just me? I don't think so, because I work with a lot of people. And dog training is a mechanical skill, period. And every dog that is of sound mind and body, even the dogs who are unsound, they pick up on human mechanics and movement more than anything.
Right.
And the reason why great dog trainers make it look super easy is because we have phenomenal mechanics. And if people would just realize that, it's like a sport or dance. You have to practice it. And here's the good news. You're with your dog. So you're walking them, you're hanging out, you can practice. But people don't want to do it. They don't. Trust me, I know.
So tell us then, we've got a puppy and we want to socialize that puppy and get it out. Should we not socialize the puppy with people we don't know? Should we only have that puppy with people we know?
You should meet your new puppy, have your new puppy meet people that are unknown people. But like we've been saying, you should instruct the people on what to do. Right. And puppies are a whole other category, because that critical development period, that birth to 21 weeks, like that whole, man, I'll tell you, so many dogs learn that hands aren't always good, that hands are a pain in the neck, right? So what I tell my puppy clients is, ask yourself, do I have to touch the puppy or do I want to touch the puppy? And there is a big difference. I have to put your harness on. I have to check your butt for some schmutz you stepped away, all that stuff. So you have to practice handling. And that's what we do at Urban Dogs. We do a section each starting around week 3, front paw, treat, other paw, treat, lift the ear, treat. And you pay for the body part that's in your hand. And I tell people, if you have a little dog, as a matter of fact, tonight I have a class, all little dogs. They're all going to be little dogs, like Yorkies, like Maltipoos. If you have a little dog, pay for pickups, right? Didn't we do something on little dogs already? Yeah,
Yes.
pay for the pickup. Instead of worrying about your sit stay for your 4-pound Yorkie, which you have to bend all the way down to reinforce. So if you want to work on your lower back and your abs, cool. But you know what I would do if I had a 4-pound Yorkie? You'd be right up here. Here you go, kid. Yeah, you do your stays up here. Because when I'm at the bank doing my thing, hi, baby, right, have you in the little bag, right? So again, I don't make things difficult for people. I try to find the easiest, think about everything we just said, the easiest, simplest possible plan to get the best behavior. How hard is it to call somebody or text them and say, don't ring or knock? How hard is it to tell the kids, hey, look out the front door. Let me know when grandma and grandpa are coming. Because grandpa's got the walker and it freaks the dog out.
Right.
Oh, they're here? Thanks, honey. Great. Come here, buddy. Get the dog behind the gate. Work the e-toy, right? It's not difficult. Isn't that easier than, oh, he's jumping on grandpa again and he knocked grandma over and he got out the front door and this has been happening for 7 months now. Really? I'm the jerk here? No. Us dog trainers, we're the problem? Think about it. We live in a world where if your dog does something that you don't want them to do, they're bad. They get blamed. They get sent away and shocked and choked and all, right? So I know we're trying to educate people about positive reinforcement and doing things humanely, but you have to do it. You can't just go, oh yeah, I bought a book, or oh yeah, I hired a trainer, and no, it's like dieting or working out. You got to do
all
it.
the time. You have to do it, and it's all the time. It's not something that you're going to do for 2 weeks and the dog's just going to know it and do it for the rest of its life. You have to do it with the dog
unless
all the time.
Unless you get a magic dog. Are there magic
Unless you get a magic dog.
There are magic Mensa dogs out there. And there are people that are really just naturally okay or good or gifted at doing dog training. There are people who do hit upon the right dog trainer and get the right info and things work out. That's great. But one of the things that people have to realize is that you're not going to have a well-trained dog because you listened to this podcast today or bought a book or went to a class. You're going to have a well-trained dog because you got the right information and you implemented it all the way through the dog's life, however it needed to be implemented. And whenever somebody says, well, can you just do this in 3 weeks? And No, because here's the thing. Even if I take the dog and I get the dog trained in my environment for 2 weeks, I got to give the dog back to you. And now you have to do it. So again, the problem is people want this quick fix. And I can give you a quick fix. I just gave it to you today. Call, gate, work to e-toy. Done. Dog's not jumping. Right? I just gave the quick fix. Instead of rushing up to your friend with the dog, say, wait, hold on a sec, buddy. Can you just be a little boring? Just stand there for me, okay? Cool. All right, I'm just going to run up. He's going to smell you. Then we'll go for a walk, okay?
Right.
How hard was that? I think we just did that all in under a minute. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of times people will say, oh, well, positive dog training is all about food. No, positive dog training is all about doing things so we don't cause the dog fear or pain. Right? It just so happens that dogs like to work for food and they need to eat, and I can strategically plan out my dog's food intake and base it on work that he does. Right. Or I can yell. I'd prefer not to do that.
Yes, we all prefer when we're not yelling.
Yeah, right.
So ending the ending note, I think, really for our podcast today is the training and the management is ongoing. It's continuous. It's something that you're going to be doing with your dog all the time. Kind of get used to that idea, and when you do it all the time, you're going to have a much better, well-trained dog, well-behaved dog.
Sure.
And remember, advocate.
Behavior that's rehearsed becomes stronger, and that goes for both the human and the dog. So if you get used to doing these simple things, these simple changes, you get used to it, your dog gets used to it, and then it becomes the way you address these situations, right? It isn't just when you feel like it.
And advocate for your dog. When you're out in public, when you have friends over, your dog can't speak. You have to be the one that advocates and tells the world around you
how to interact or help your dog to interact in that particular environment. Thank you, Drayton, once again, for all your great information.
You're welcome.
See everybody next week.
If you'd like to participate in the rest of today's conversation for professionals who work with dogs and receive continuing education credits from participating organizations for listening, visit gooddogpro.com and subscribe today. Use coupon DOGSROCK to get 40% off your first month or annual subscription.